Welcome to Excruciating Minutia, a podcast where we'll obsess about sports, pop culture, politics, and other unimportant things, but mostly sports. Hello again, everybody. I'm Randy, and I'm going to be joined by Stephen today, as we'll be talking on a host of subjects that interest us and will hopefully interest you as well. How are we doing today, Stephen?
I'm doing okay. Sounds like I'm doing better than you. You don't sound like you're 100% today.
Oh, this is my my normal January. I catch everything that goes around voice. So that's the fighting the flu, fighting whatever bug it is. But you've known me long enough. This is pretty much par for the course. So this is my January voice. So
this is which is different than your February voice, your March voice, your April voice.
Yeah, well, different voice for different months because that's how you keep it fresh, right? You know what I sound like? I sound a little bit, probably a little hoarse, a little bit, not my normal voice. Probably like some of the people who watch the college football championship game on Monday night. Perhaps an Alabama fan or two, still trying to figure out what in the world happened after that slight debacle for the Crimson Tide. I mean, they've had so much success that you can't win every game, but boy. That wasn't what anybody expected, I don't think, unless you were the most diehard of a Clemson fan to see that type of one-sided Clemson victory. I mean, I was shocked. I'm going to guess you were as well.
That was an old-fashioned whooping, as we call them. Yeah, that was a little shocking. Maybe not as shocking when you consider that we both thought Alabama was a gimme. That should have let everyone know that Clemson was probably the bet.
Since we've started making picks in this podcast, I've been perfect. And if by perfect you mean I've gotten every single pick I've made wrong, you have to have a sound effect for that record. I believe I'm 0-9 now. Or is that right? If I were counting spreads or games or whatever, I'm 0-5. Oh, yeah, that's where all my picks have ended up so far. Thank God it's been for entertainment purposes only and not for anything real. We both went with Alabama, as I assume a lot of people did. And
that's where all the money was on. I'm pretty sure that Vegas did very well on that game.
I'm gonna agree with you on that one. So what happened? I mean, I think I mentioned this to you earlier this week when I was in the middle of coughing and wheezing that I guess maybe some of the happier people to see that were Notre Dame fans who had to look up and go, well, maybe it wasn't just us that looked so terrible. Maybe we just ran into the team that really apparently was the best team in the country, and it wasn't close, and that was Clemson. So
that's correct. And we were talking about how Clemson really didn't have a close game at all this year, with the exception of the Syracuse game. And as I was watching the national title game, they reminded me that Trevor Lawrence, the starting quarterback, was not playing that game. So they were playing with their backup quarterback that game, which makes a little bit more sense why it was so close. Although Syracuse was a lot better this year than everyone thought. So what happened? My understanding or my opinion is that Alabama has had an awful lot of talent. First, second round guys who have left for the NFL over the last 2 years. They were mentioning during the game that they had 9 defensive backs from last year's team that weren't on this year's team. And it was pretty apparent that they were being burned in the secondary badly a lot. And that would make sense if you have a lot of young, inexperienced guys back there. They looked tired. Their defensive line looked tired. They weren't getting any pressure on the quarterback. And that's probably because of lack of depth. I always remember seeing Alabama would have almost 2 full offensive lines, and they were constantly rotating guys in. So everyone was always fresh, and they would just wear offensive lines down. And that did not happen in this game. I don't think Trevor Lawrence got sacked once in the game.
He seemed to have Yeah, he seemed to have the ability to just do whatever he wanted to out there. And you're right, Alabama. We've seen Alabama with some really just stifling defenses in years past in the championship game against other opponents, and that was not a defense we saw out there on Monday night. 100% accurate on that.
And a lot of their defenders, have really in the last couple of years, they've had a lot of defenders drafted in the first round. In the NFL, a lot of guys. And, you can restock to some degree, but you're not restocking that quickly when you lose that kind of talent. And I think that just that really just took its toll. They didn't look. They didn't. Yeah, it did, and they just didn't look right. They didn't look as fresh as Clemson. Clemson looked very fresh in that game. And maybe it's just I really can't explain it. Like I said, I thought Alabama was going to win that game fairly easily. I thought Clemson was a year away. I thought Clemson they had so many freshmen especially on their offense.
Do you think, and this wouldn't be Nick Saban's doing, because I don't believe Saban would have overlooked Clemson at all. But do you think there was any sense in the Alabama locker room maybe that they were taking this game a little bit for granted? I mean, it's a team they had beaten, though not necessarily the same players, obviously, that were there for the previous year. But, it's a team that they had beaten the last time they played them with the title on the line and beaten them in general. Maybe there was some of that. Clemson playing for revenge, maybe, a little bit of a grudge match for Clemson, more so than Alabama in this game.
Well, I think what Clemson did is, if you remember at the beginning of the year, their starting quarterback from last year ended up transferring away because he lost his job. And the reason he lost his job is because he really was the reason last year why they didn't win. He made a lot of mistakes. And this kid, this true freshman, Trevor Lawrence, comes in and was just lights out. And I'm pretty sure that Dabo Swinney saw very early that, the one thing that really hurt them last year could have been fixed with Trevor Lawrence. And
boy, was it fixed too.
Yeah, he was right. And, it's so that's 2 titles in the last 3 years for them. That's a pretty good run. And again, Trevor Lawrence is a freshman. Their running backs were sophomores. All their good receivers were freshmen. So they're still going to be a pretty significant, they are installed as the favorite going into next year by a pretty significant margin.
That's a scary prospect for college football, because if you look at the ACC and you look at teams that are being listed by Vegas early on as favorites, you're going to see some at least another SEC team or two in there. I'm looking for ACC teams, and you have to go down a ways to find someone that's ranked or at least highly favored by Vegas, or even favored by Vegas to possibly be a national champion. So you have to believe Clemson's going to be obviously the powerhouse of their conference again. And as you said, bringing so many people back, particularly Lawrence, the true freshman, they're going to be, they look this good now. It's too early, obviously, to crown them, as Dennis Green would remind us, right? It's a little too early to crown them the champs for next season, but they're clearly going to be the favorite to go in. And as you said, with so many guys returning, it's probably going to be theirs, I think, to lose. Though, again, we would have said that maybe about Alabama coming into this season, and that's why they play the games, as the saying goes. So.
And Alabama did kind of the same thing last year. They won the national title with a freshman quarterback, and everyone was saying the same things we're saying about Trevor Lawrence, which is, wow, he's a freshman. He's got 2 more years that he has to play in college. Alabama's going to win the next 2 years. Well, that didn't quite work out that way. So my guess is we're going to, as much as you are not going to like it, we will most likely be seeing a Clemson-Alabama final next year.
Well, they'll be in the conversation, and I had said on an earlier podcast that I was getting tired of it. Well, maybe I was just getting tired of Alabama winning. It seemed I was a little enjoyed a little bit more watching Clemson put the boots to them at various points, and seeing things that Alabama normally would do that would work out, just not work out. The fake field goal, being stuffed on a number of fourth down plays in the second half, and just being manhandled and pushed around at various points. Maybe that kind of changed my mind a little bit about seeing the Clemson Alabama rematch, just because it didn't follow the same script from the previous year. So, if that's who's in the title game next year, then if it's the best two teams, then it's going to be the best two teams. And I think they're both definitely going to be in the conversation. You have Vegas odds that were posted, and I think Clemson started off. You have here as a 9-5 favorite, Alabama 5-2, and then at that point everybody else is double digit odds. Ohio State and Georgia were 12-1, and then it goes up to there to Notre Dame, who was in the playoff, with 25-1, and then some other notables. But clearly these will be the two teams that we'll be watching circle each other next season, and it's going to be those two, and then we'll see who joins them, is the way it feels like. Though again, you can never tell. There's always some surprises to be had in the college football landscape as the season develops. So,
well, I sent you the odds of all the guys or all the
initially,
teams for next year, and one of the teams I saw that was conspicuously missing was I don't see Central Florida there anywhere.
Well, they're they're
Just
not
saying.
going to be. Just saying. We've talked about that with the playoffs, and I don't know if we'd mentioned that on a previous podcast. It feels like there were definitely two teams that were a step above. It almost feels like maybe an old BCS sort of system would have worked in a year like this, where you could have had a clear number one and a clear number two, potentially in Clemson and Alabama, and avoided even the 4-game playoff. I know there was an article on ESPN's website, and I've criticized ESPN before privately to you for what I consider half the time to be some lazy or half-assed journalism when it comes to whatever it is they write. But the genesis of the article, the point behind the article was, we don't, Notre Dame getting beat and Oklahoma being beat, this is just a sign we don't need any more teams. And it rationaled other teams' performances in bowl games as this is why. And I think my comment to you was, well, of course, a team that's expecting to play for the national championship, maybe a team like Ohio State that wanted to get in, isn't necessarily going to put forth its best effort in a bowl game that they don't really want to go to, and that they might not have expected to go to. So I thought that was kind of trying to compare apples and oranges to some extent. But I'd still like to see an 8-team playoff with the 5 major conference teams and then 3 at large. But seasons like this aren't really ones that are going to push for that to happen, because again, we could have had the old BCS system and just said Clemson against Alabama. Though, to be honest, we wouldn't have seen Clemson blow out Notre Dame. We wouldn't have seen Alabama beat Oklahoma relatively soundly. And I guess what would have been going on at that point, one of those teams probably would be saying, "Hey, we could have lost by 4 touchdowns, right? To Clemson, we could have been beaten by 28 points just as easily. Why weren't we in the title game?" So,
Well, one of the things I was happy to see was that LSU beat Central Florida to just shut them up, so that they couldn't make that that false claim that we're also undefeated, we're also national champions. I too would love to see an 8-team playoff, but I do not like the idea of the 5 power conferences each getting at least one seat at the table and then 3 at large, because that would have made Washington, which was not a very good team, in the final 8. And I guarantee the 9th ranked team was better than Washington. So I would just rather just have it, any top 8 teams, period. I don't care where they're coming from. And, if it is that opens things up for teams like Central Florida, where, they go undefeated, you get a seat at the table, and maybe you'll get beat, maybe you won't, but you'll have that chance.
The one straw man argument always used when discussing playoffs, and we've seen this in the NCAA basketball tournament before. It's always you have a cutting off point. Well, I guess the point is you're always going to have somebody left out, right? I mean, we've looked at past seasons where we could figure out and be like, okay, if we were going to do 8 teams, this is who it would be, or back when it was just the 2 teams in the BCS title, who else would be in a top 4? You see that in the NCAA tournament. It doesn't matter how many times they expand it. There's always somebody who gets quote unquote left out. And at some point, you do have to draw the line. You do have to say, well, we really don't need to go any further than this. And there's always going to be teams on the outside looking in. And in an instance with Central Florida, as you're mentioning, I've never thought they were the best team in the country. Could they have ever beaten Clemson or Alabama in the last 2 seasons? My guess is probably not. Of course, they did lose the game to LSU without their starting star quarterback, correct? He was out for the season.
He was, but a lot of LSU players did not play in that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what would have happened. I mean, that's a hypothetical universe that we're not living in, where he's healthy and LSU's has its full contingent of guys at the game playing, and both teams are playing with the same intensity. One of my favorite college football memories, of course, is the Boise State upset over Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl, in a game that no one gave Boise State, any chance of winning, that they proved that they could 100% compete on the field with a major college program that was a really good team. Looking back at highlights of that, just to remind myself how long ago that game was, that was Adrian Peterson in the Oklahoma backfield that year, to show you how long ago that game was. But yeah, I mean, you're always going to have somebody who feels like they were left out. And like you said, Central Florida can't claim to be a national champion this year because they lost to not even the second best team in the SEC. So that would be a little difficult to claim for them to make, though. I guess you can always claim it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's true, right? That's
yeah. I seem to remember a few years ago BYU claiming they were national champions when they went undefeated and weren't invited to the national title game.
Well, like I said, you can always make the claim. What I think I said on the last podcast, we were talking about World Series rings or Super Bowl rings. You can get one of those off of eBay, right? So you can you get a national champion? Do they make those? The players get national championship rings for the NCAA?
I believe they do.
Who pays for that? Is that the school pays for that?
Yeah, I think the school does.
I'm just curious. Yeah, I've never looked for that on eBay. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure though I could look if I went and checked for a.
They get rings. They get rings for the bowl games. I know that the bowl game pays for that.
I can get it. In fact, you mentioned BYU. I can get a 1984 BYU national championship replica ring right now, available on eBay, like $25. So. Replica, and I could claim I played for BYU back then. Who would doubt me, right? Who would question, especially if you saw my imposing physical stature? Who would ever question that I could have played college football at a high level enough to be a member of a national championship team? That's the beauty of America, correct? You can do that.
Going back to that 1984 BYU team, by the way, they. Talking about the need for a national title championship series, whether it's a playoff or just the BCS 2 teams, BYU was undefeated and ended up playing in the Holiday Bowl against a 6-5 Michigan. And then they won that game and then were named national champs.
That was back in the pre days of when teams were contractually obligated to play in games, bowl games, and the Holiday Bowl had the WAC, I believe it was, correct? That was the conference.
It was.
So that was kind of they kind of had to play who was put in front of them.
They beat number 3 Pitt the first week of the season and didn't play another ranked team the rest of the year, beating such such great programs as Baylor, Tulsa, Hawaii, UTEP, Utah State, New Mexico. Yeah. And then beat Michigan in the Holiday Bowl, before Christmas to show you how different things are. December 21st, they played that game and won.
One last note regarding rings, because again, just curious. So as I'm surfing quickly through eBay as we were talking here, I came across, there's a lot of replica rings on there, and then I see a 1996 Arizona State 10-karat gold Pac-10 NCAA football championship players ring. So my first question is, did Arizona State win the Pac-10 in 1996? That's a long time ago. I guess we don't really have a research staff here other than you or I, but
What did you say?
1996,
1996?
1996. Yes. Did Arizona State win the Pac-10? Because currently, if you wanted one, it's listed as a. I thought this was the play. Yeah,
Yes,
they were.
They did.
Here you go. Oh,
They did. They went to the Rose Bowl. They lost a close game to Ohio State, 20-17.
well, somebody's having a rough time because just reading you the description on eBay, it's listed as Herff Jones 1996 ASU championship ring. And I thought that might be the name of the players, but apparently Herff Jones is an American company that manufactures and sells products, including, you got it, championship rings. They have made the looks like the Heisman Trophy for college football, the Werfel Trophy since 2005. They've produced the Indianapolis 500 racing car winners ring since '83. They were chosen by Jim Irsay to make the Super Bowl rings for the championship winning Colts team. They've made all-star rings for the NBA since 2002, produced the championship rings for all 5 of your San Antonio Spurs NBA championships, and since 1999, this company produces rings for the NFL's Hall of Fame inductees. So when I saw this on eBay, I'm like, is that the player? No, it's the company. As I'm reading here, this ring is an authentic ring that was given to the football players. And in the eBay auction, it's a buy it now, the player's name was hidden for privacy reasons. And I note the company that has it listed is Gold Star Pawn and Loan. So somebody who played for that team, unfortunately, also not really off to a great start in 2019. If their ring is up on the block.
Let me give you a couple of things about that Arizona State team while I have it up. They were undefeated before losing in the Rose Bowl. They beat midway through September, they beat number 1 Nebraska. Shut them out 19-0. And that's kind of what propelled them into the top 10. And they got all the way to number 2 before they lost in the Rose Bowl. Members of that 1996 Arizona State Sun Devils football team, 2 very notable players. The quarterback was Jake Plummer.
Jake the Snake.
Yes, and also on that team, may he rest in peace, Pat Tillman was on that team.
Oh, I'm guessing this isn't Tillman's ring. Is Jake having some financial difficulties? Perhaps it's just one of the other unknown players that we don't know. But
well, it could be a player. It could have been a staff member.
This is listed as a player's ring on it, and it does say that the player's name, while hidden, does have his name engraved inside the band. So if you'd like to know who's having some money issues that used to play for Arizona State, it would only cost you $4,600 as the buy it now currently on eBay, though they do have the make an offer feature. So, and 7 people,
4,600.
Yeah, 7 people watching the auction. So, there's 7 people out there watching this who might drop some coin and then claim I played for that Arizona State team. Here's my proof. Take a look at my ring. So, for enough money, you too can claim to have been a member of the 1996 Pac-10 champion football team, Arizona State. You too, if you'd like to have that type of money to drop on such endeavors.
Well, if you've watched the John Oliver show on HBO, that this would be the moment where, having HBO money behind him, he would have talked about the ring and then all of a sudden whipped it out, because he would have bought it. He's bought all kinds of things that were like up for auction. With that he bought like the jock strap from what's his name? There's a boxing movie with oh God, it's gonna kill me.
Old boxing?
Relatively new. With God, the guy that played in Gladiator, God,
Russell Crowe, Cinderella Man. Was it Cinderella Man?
Cinderella
James
Man.
J. Story of James J. Braddock, an inspirational story. Yes,
correct. So he bought the actual like boxing jock strap, which is kind of like a cup, prevent the boxers from getting hit in the nuts. He bought it.
Well,
because he could, and then displayed it.
So wait,
and then tweeted something.
I didn't see that. Was this the cup used in the movie as a prop? Or was it a cup?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was like, so was a cup actually worn by Russell Crowe at some point in the movie?
Yes. Okay. Yes, it was. And then he tweeted at Russell Crowe about the fact that he owned it.
I don't
something that was so close to his crotch.
I'm not sure I'd be bragging about that, but hey, when you have money and you have a platform, then I guess you can. I think the word for that is eccentric.
That's right.
You can be a little eccentric when it comes to things like that, right?
Nutty, something like that. Nutty.
Maybe one of these days, just to finish that note off, we can peruse eBay on a podcast and see some of the more unusual items. I said eBay says everything's available. You can pretty much find anything you want. Here's proof is in the pudding very quickly. So,
one final thing about the college football championship game. We were talking about Trevor Lawrence being not draft eligible for 2 more years as he's a true freshman. And number of NFL executives has said that if Trevor Lawrence was coming out this year, he would be undeniably the number 1 pick in the draft. So the question is, what teams are going to start trying to position themselves for the 2021 draft by tanking? Not this year. You want to tank next year, not this coming year. I mean, not the 2019 season, but you want to tank in the 2020 season.
I mean, this doesn't this have a lot of the Raiders looking like a team that could certainly be in that position. I mean, you have a coach in Gruden who's not really, I don't think, obviously the biggest Derek Carr backer. And, Carr will have another couple of years of mileage, even if he's still with the Raiders at that point. They'll be moving to Vegas, and presumably, that's when they're looking to start building for. That would be a big piece on their move to Vegas at that point. I mean, that could be a team that could certainly take the lead. I mean, we had the suck for luck. I'm not sure what you would call the tanking for Lawrence. Some cute
tanking for Trevor.
Tanking for Trevor. There you go. That's a go ahead and just copyright that now. We can get that on some t-shirts.
I'm working on it right now.
Get that on some t-shirts.
Going to work on that.
You can put that on some t-shirts and just make the team logo of whatever NFL team you want to put there just kind of interchangeable. So that way you could just have whatever team it is could their fans could buy those shirts and wear them to their games as their team struggles over the next couple seasons. Yeah,
you could also do losing for Lawrence.
Losing for Lawrence.
Tanking for Trevor, losing for Lawrence. There's a few of them that you could do. Yeah, that's another team I think might consider it. I'm not sure. It's not really in their DNA, but maybe they should. Maybe the Giants. Are the Giants, they keep on saying that Eli is still possibly in their future. And, wouldn't you keep him on for a couple more years, let him, drag you towards that number 1 pick?
That would be an interesting way to go about it, because that would allow them to give him. I'm not really sure what the proper Eli send off is at this point, because it feels like, if you remember, one of my favorite movies, and I know you've seen it, was Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, the last movie of the trilogy that Peter Jackson made. And of course, the one of the criticisms or funny things about it was it kept ending, except it wouldn't end. It would end, and you thought that was the end of the movie, and then here we go again. This is the ending of the movie. oh, wait, nope, that's not it. They're doing another scene. That feels like Eli's career at this point, because it felt like last year would have been a natural spot for his time with the Giants to end, and then it didn't. And then we had this season that felt like, well, this will be his farewell tour, except it looks like it's probably not going to be. I mean, Eli is getting his curtain calls. Maybe that's a possibility. Let Eli hang around for another year or two, don't win a lot of games, and be in a position to draft his heir apparent in a couple years. Well, like you said, not really in the Giants' DNA, because they were insistent, and that's one of the reasons they drafted Barkley in the draft this year, was that we don't need to rebuild. We just need a couple of pieces, and we can be competitive. And they're not, but not particularly competitive, and I don't think particularly close to winning that division anytime soon. But I'm sure Lawrence, that would be an ideal landing spot for him, just because of the franchise tradition and the big market and the the media spotlight. It would be a good place for the NFL to have someone like him land, as compared to even Vegas or Jacksonville or wherever else he could end up. That would be not nearly as much in the public eye. So that's a good dark horse. But then again, we have 2 years to watch that develop, because you never know. A lot can happen over a couple of seasons, and as you said, NFL executives may say he's would have been the number one pick if he was coming out this year, but we'll see if that still is the case in 2 years. A lot can happen, right?
Yeah, it can, and I'm wondering also if he's definitely going to be there next year, but I'm wondering if he tries to challenge that ruling and says, takes it to court the way that I guess, was it Claret was the last one who did it?
Maurice Claret,
out of Ohio State.
Yep, I believe Claret had challenged it. I'm not sure if it would be any different today, but that would be an interesting path. But again, we'll wait and see. That's still a ways away. So
my thought is that there's probably more money involved with Trevor Lawrence than there ever would have been with Maurice Claret.
Oh, absolutely.
So he can get better lawyers. I'm still convinced that rule is going to be overturned at some point. I just don't know when. But the NFL does not have a good track record in court, because they're a bunch of inept idiots. Yeah.
No.
So I know it's shocking, but we'll have to see. We like you said, we'll have a year at least, maybe two,
to speculate,
to discuss this, and yeah, we'll keep our eye on that. Moving on, we were supposed to do this podcast originally on Tuesday, but obviously Randy was feeling very under the weather, and his voice was not cooperating at all. And I was going to, at that time, wish him a happy National Argyle Day, because Tuesday was National Argyle Day. It was also National Bubble Bath Day.
I celebrated. Don't think I didn't.
You celebrated?
Oh, don't think I didn't. Absolutely. Argyle sweater and a bubble bath to finish my day off. Absolutely, 100%. You didn't? I mean, I thought everybody knew about that.
In truth, I wore Argyle socks that day. I did do that. I'm hoping that after you took your bubble bath, you made sure you moisturized, because it was also National Winter Skin Relief Day.
Yeah, of course I did. I knocked 3 out at once. So what's another one you mentioned?
There you go.
There was the one I didn't know it was on Tuesday. Was it?
It was National Joy Germ Day, which sounded very contagious.
It sounded like somebody who hosts The View. When you first mentioned that, isn't that one of the hosts? I mean, but then you explained it to me, and for anyone, I'm sure anyone listening to this is probably well acquainted with National Joy Germ Day. But if they're not, as you explained it to me, what is exactly National Joy Germ Day?
National Joy Germ Day is a day that we're trying to spread joy as if it was a germ. So it's to spread the positivity of joy, but using with a negatively connotative word in germ. So a little strange.
That sounded very uncomfortable. It sounds like that's someone foisting joy upon me when it's unwarranted or not necessary. I feel like yes, joy forced upon me like a germ. I don't know how much I can get behind that one. Maybe that's why I didn't know that. Well,
Well, joy being foisted upon me doesn't bring joy to me. It just angers me. It's like,
Exactly. It's the exact opposite.
sometimes I just want it right. Sometimes I just want to be angry. So just let me be angry. I don't need joy all the time.
Is there a National Anger Day? My guess is there's probably not.
There is not. I did look. So as part of this, I actually started doing some research on, you always hear about these on radio shows. They always talk about, oh, it's happy so-and-so day. And, we all know the big days. February 2nd is Groundhog Day. In April, you have Administrative Professionals Day. You also have Take Your Daughters and Sons to Work Day. There's Bosses Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Independence Day, Columbus Day, St. Patrick's Day. There's all of those. So there's some that are a little more obscure, which is Pi Day, not the actual eating pie, but the 3.1415. So on March 14th, 314 is Pi Day. It's a math holiday, I guess. There are also some other obscure holidays. May 8th, which happens to be my birthday, is Coconut Cream Pie Day. Very excited. I do like good coconut cream pie.
You like coconut cream pie, so that's very, very appropriate.
I do. My wife's grandmother used to make one every year for Thanksgiving, and I loved it. April 11th is 8-track tape day, which is interesting. Also in that same realm, on August 12th is Vinyl Records Day, which makes sense. Vinyl records are actually making a little bit of a comeback. Although I do have a problem in the fact that 8-track tapes have a day, but cassette tapes, which were far superior to 8-track tapes, do not have their own day.
Give them time. They just need someone to speak up for them, apparently.
Yes. Let's see. June 2nd is National Bubba Day. And you were asking, what are we doing? Are we celebrating?
Do we sit do we sit on our lawns on a sofa and drink beer? I mean, is that how we celebrate June the 2nd on National Bubba Day?
I looked it up, and Bubba is is kind of a term of endearment to call a brother, apparently. So it's like your little brother. You call, in some places they call them Bubbas. I've never heard that before.
Where?
I don't know. I'd never heard of it. But apparently you can get anything made into a national day. One of my favorites, July 5th, is National Bikini Day. I'm very, very much in
favor of that. Thumbs up.
In favor of that one. I'm good. August 11th is Presidential Joke Day, which I thought every day for the last 2 years has been Presidential Joke Day, but
I argue every day for the last 20 years has been Presidential Joke Day. Depending where you sit at, it's is there a Congressional Joke Day? Again, 365 days a year, right?
You're not a left-hander, are you? Neither of us are, but left-handers have a day. They have August 13th. Apparently, the other 364 days of the year are for right-handers, because left-handers only get one day.
That's all they get.
August 17th, which is a day that's very important to you, is National I Love My Feet Day, and I'm not making that up.
And you said that, and that's my birthday, and I just, of all the things it could be, really, I don't even love my feet. I love and it doesn't matter if it has a day for it or not. That's just a very strange.
September 25th is one that's very important to you. It's National Comic Book Day,
which I saw, and I've heard of that. So, again, that celebrates the medium. That's one I could see, considering some of these other ones.
And it goes on and on. There's December 5th is National Ninja Day, and it also happens to be National Bathtub Party Day.
Now, when you first sent this list to me, I didn't see the comma, so I actually thought it said Ninja Bathtub Party. And I thought that was very specific, that it wasn't just a bathtub party day, it was a ninja bath. And I was trying to figure out, does that mean you have ninjas in the bath? Does it mean you dress up as a ninja to take a bath? Does it mean you take a bath without anyone knowing you're taking a bath because you're so ninja about it? I was really confused. And then I saw the comma, and then I realized it was, but it's
still confusing though.
It's a shame that two traditions so ingrained in our culture as ninjas and taking baths have to have a day that they share together. It's just a sign we don't have enough days in the calendar if those two great institutions have to share a day together. There's an injustice that needs to be obviously corrected there somewheres, right? Is it just me?
Yep. No, it's true. It's
true. Not just days.
Some of the
you pointed out there were months as well that like we already
there's months, but let me switch around a little bit, because one of the things I did also noticed about individual days is that sometimes there's like, you would think it'd be like National Beer Day, but there's actually like 10 beer days, because there is a beer day, there's an International Beer Day, there's a Beer Lovers Day, there's a National Drink Beer Day, there's a National American Beer Day.
Did Homer Simpson make this calendar?
I don't know. And then there's a day for beer cans, not just beer, but beer in a can. And there's also root beer days. So, and then cakes also have like, there's, it's not like National Cake Day. There's actually like 22 different cake days, from things like, well, there is a National Cake Day that's in November, but chocolate cake has its own day. Carrot cake, coffee cake, pineapple upside down cake, raspberry cake, cheesecake, strawberry cheesecake, or blueberry cheesecake, cherry cheesecake, sponge cake. There's another one that I saw that I was like, are you kidding me? There is a day, and this does not have a comma. October 9th is National Pro-Life Cupcake Day. Now, pro-life and cupcakes are two things that, to me, that don't go together at all. I don't know what makes a cupcake pro-life or versus pro-choice. I mean, is there a pro-choice Cupcake Day? This is very strange to me. Right, exactly. I can't understand this.
I don't know. Like I said, if they're I'm almost certain, and I don't want to get into too much controversial stuff here. I'm sure there's a National Pro-Life Day, and that I would understand. But why you would tie it to a cupcake? That doesn't seem to make any sense. I mean, that's just like taking anything. That's like, do they have do they have here would be something like, how about a National Put on Your Seatbelt Pancake Day? Because that's kind of two unrelated things, but I guess those actually kind of make sense, because, you don't wear a seatbelt, you hit something really hard and you basically pancake yourself. That would actually make sense, but that doesn't,
So reading the description, on this day, cupcakes are baked to honor the lives of those not yet born and to raise awareness about the issue of abortion. Cupcakes are a sweet way to get a conversation started on a difficult subject. It's just strange.
I think having a conversation on difficult subjects is never helped by the presence of a cupcake. That's just me. I mean, I think you'd have a better chance of having a beer day like that, because that could actually go kind of badly, but that could go either way. It could be, you could have conversations on difficult subjects, politics or religion or whatever it would be, life events or whatever. If you did it on one of these beer days, you could probably get yourself hammered enough with whoever you're talking with it about to be kind of like, I'm hammered and it's okay and you're okay and this is all good and we're having this good conversation. Or I guess it could lead to people going to blows with one another. So I guess maybe mixing that up with a beer day wouldn't be a good idea. I see your beer day is one of them was National Stewart's Root Beer Day.
Yes.
And again, I probably just need better glasses. The first time I looked, I almost thought it said Martha Stewart's Root Beer Day. And then I was like, wait a minute, is that Rod Stewart's Beer Day? Oh, no, it's National Stewart's. So
do you have Stewart's Root Beer? Are you familiar with that?
I am not. Where I live in the South, we have Barks is a big, and Abita are local.
Right. So what do you have? You have that root beer drive-in place down there. What the hell is that called? Frost Tops, right?
Frost Top.
All right. Yep. That's what Stewart's is. And it's up north. So it's a place you can get a burger and, fries and, hot dogs or whatever, and then they make their own root beer.
It's a regional location with a national day.
Yes, that is exactly right.
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't. Something else that I found strange, but kind of it's about as strange as pro-life cupcakes, which is October 18th is National Chocolate Cupcake Month, which, that doesn't seem very strange at all. It also happens to be on the same day as World Vasectomy Day.
Okay. That's yeah. Cupcakes and vasectomies. Not exactly two things, again, that I would put in the same. Again, shouldn't the beer go along with this? Because I'm not trying to get too personal here, but I have not had a vasectomy.
I have.
Okay. I'm not. Again, I didn't have. I'm sure the procedure was painless, and at least
no.
During it, no.
No, during it is. Afterwards, definitely not. Very, very painful that first day and a half. It really feels like somebody really kicked in the wheres.
So my question is, would a cupcake have made that any better feeling? Would you have felt better with a cupcake?
No. I love chocolate cupcakes, but the chocolate cupcake wasn't going to cut it. Unless it had a lot of liquor in it, it wasn't going to fix anything. But like I said, on World Vasectomy Day, it should be National Frozen Peas Day, because that's what you use to, keep the swelling down.
So you're basically saying the ratio of cupcakes to vasectomies is not really equivalent enough to put those on the same day. But you're right, frozen peas, that would be You're right. That would make a little bit more sense.
I have come up with a theory behind it, though. Maybe the chocolate cupcakes are for their wives to celebrate the fact that there's no chance that they're going to get pregnant again.
There you go. So it's not a full cake, but it's a small cake, small victory, right? So
you don't have to just have one. I could have 10 cupcakes. It's more than a slice of cake. So,
there's one thing for sure. You could have 10 cupcakes. You will never have 10 vasectomies. That's on the bright side.
Thank God. Yeah. So we talked about days, and obviously there are things where there are weeks, national something or other weeks, but there's also there's months that we all know and love. February being Black History Month. June is National Gay Pride Month. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Nope. October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which we all, as football fans, know because that's when all the players wear all the pink stuff, gloves, shoes, etc. November is National Men's Health Month, which is that's the Movember trend of everyone growing mustaches and beards which I
didn't know.
Men's health awareness.
That brought awareness to me because I was not aware of that. And it's right there with Breast Cancer Month, and they're back to back. You would think that would be more publicized, but I, as a male, was not aware of that. So, or maybe as a guy, I just don't care because health, whatever. I'm not worried about that, right?
Yes, but some of the lesser known national months are in January is National Bath Safety Month. Not sure why you need a whole month to discuss bath safety. I walk into a bath, there's water, there's soap, it's going to be slippery, watch out. Done. Why do we need a whole month?
It's 5 minutes most, right? You don't even need an hour. You could have bath safety hour.
I did it in 5 seconds.
Don't drop the soap. Is that shower safety month, or is that prison safety month?
That's prison shower safety
month. Okay. But yeah, a whole month of bath safety seems kind of extreme. I completely agree with you.
Excessive. February is an Affair to Remember month, which is celebration of the Cary Grant movie, An Affair to Remember. Again,
so a whole month?
A whole month for a movie that happened 60 years ago. 60. It was 1959.
Is that even Cary Grant's best movie?
Is it even the best movie of 1959?
And yet it gets a whole month. Who arbitrarily decides this? I'd love to talk to him. I'd love to figure out the process of coming up with some of these. You had listed here March was breast implant awareness month, and I don't know about you, but I'm usually pretty aware of when somebody has breast implants around me. I don't need a whole month to to make that call.
Every month is breast implant awareness month, isn't it?
Well, if you're around someone who has them, my guess is yes, you're going to be aware. I did not think you needed. My guess is, and all joking aside, my guess is that's to make people aware of the safety issues that may result from having them. Particularly, I guess, older ones that were made of certain materials that may have not been the safest to use. I'm guessing that's what that's about. But again, it's a whole month for that. That seems
a whole month.
All these months you sent were bizarre. I didn't really see very many of them that made any sense here.
I found the ones that were bizarre. I mean, that's kind of what I was looking for. There were the ones that but like April is Canine Fitness Month. I don't know about you, but
my dogs don't care.
Yeah,
they don't celebrate it. Why should I? I mean, that's another one. A whole month for canine fitness. What about feline fitness? Where's the cat fitness month on here? I don't see that. Cats always get a good point.
I didn't even think about that. And to be honest with you, in your household, canine fitness would be a large undertaking. Tell our listeners how many dogs you currently have residing in your humble abode.
Okay, it's not such a humble abode. We have a large house. We have a large yard. We have 9. Count them 9 dogs, and
which is 8 too many.
Says the person with 1. Yes, I expected that would be your reply. It's not 8 too many, but it definitely was not planned that way. And for anyone who doesn't know the story, I can just say it involved us taking in 2 rescues, not getting a chance to have them fixed. Due to our busy work schedules here at the house, and just doing what we could to keep them separate until we could. And then, as Jeff Goldblum would have told you, life finds a way, and it did. And then we ended up with a lot of puppies. So, yeah, canine fitness. Every month here is canine fitness. Every month is canine awareness month at my house. So, yeah. Thanks for that reminder.
No problem.
I know what I'll be doing after I'm off this podcast. So,
yes.
My month, I was born in August, crayon collection month. How did my month get so many crappy days and a crappy month? Really? Is that for people who collect crayons? Is it a month for 5-year-olds? I
don't know. How many burnt sienna crayons do you need?
Enough to make a collection of them, perhaps. I mean, that seems like, again, it seems like a month for someone that would be somewhat mentally disturbed. If you're, I have 872 burnt Sierra crayons. Would you like to see them all? It's their month, Okay. Where's the exit? How do I get out of here? Exactly. How do I get out of here as quickly as possible? I mean, I'm just generally confused. You had October was Halloween safety month. That actually makes sense. I mean, being safe during Halloween, and Halloween does fall in October. That's one on here that at least makes some bit of sense.
And I'm happy that it's Halloween safety is in October and not in like April or May, where it would make no sense at all.
That would be perfect. Let's have it in April so no one remembers it when Halloween actually gets here.
Right. I also noticed that a couple of things. July is National Horseradish Month. Again, horseradish needs a whole month. And July is also the National Unlucky for Weddings Month.
When were you married?
I was married in July.
There you go.
So just my wedding has been very lucky. Maybe I bucked the trend.
I was going to say, is your wife aware of the fact that it was unlucky for weddings month?
Well, for her, it was. I definitely married up. It was lucky for me, unlucky for her. So maybe that is accurate.
It's all about perception.
It is. September is a very strange month in that it is a very specific month. It is National Blueberry Popsicle Month. And again, it would be bad enough if popsicles had their own month, but the fact that blueberry popsicles have their own month and something as great as a chocolate cupcake has one day is completely wrong.
That seems completely out of proportion right there.
It does.
I've eaten popsicles. That's not even my favorite flavor. You would think maybe cherry.
No, not even
cherry.
close.
How about a good cherry popsicle? But no, blueberry?
Grape popsicles.
Yeah.
Just so stupid. And then October, in addition to being Halloween Safety Month, is also National Pickled Peppers Month.
Did Peter Piper pick those?
A whole pack, in fact.
In that month. There you go.
Yes. November is Raisin Bread Month. Again, I like a good raisin bread. Pepperidge Farm raisin bread, fantastic. It doesn't need a whole month. Just doesn't. It doesn't even really need a day, but it gets a whole month. And December is the weirdest one because I have this one listed, and it's not. Keep in mind, this one is not. Does not have a comma in it. This is one thing. It's National Root Vegetable and Exotic Fruit Month. So what do root vegetables and exotic fruits have to do with each other? And why are they lumped together in one month?
And why are they in December? Because I don't know about you. When I think of December, the very first thing that comes to mind are my root vegetables and exotic fruits. Nothing else. Nothing really else happens in December, right? I mean, that's kind of a dead month. It's a slow month. Not really any big events going on. So I can see why you'd make that a month to celebrate the root vegetable. Yep. What's your favorite root vegetable, Steven?
I'm a big fan of carrots.
I'm a big fan of
carrots. I do like a good carrot.
I like carrots too. I wouldn't celebrate them for a whole month though.
No.
Something to ask somebody at work or a friend the next time you see them. Just ask them when December comes around, what's your favorite root vegetable and how are you celebrating it? And just see what kind of reaction you get and how long it takes for them to walk away from you. Over under 30 seconds, maybe.
Less. I'll take the under, please. Please. So, and going through here, there's over 1,500 national days throughout the year. And almost every day there's at least one food item, something you can eat. Sometimes there's more than one. And interesting on the site, you can actually submit a new national day. And I was mentioning to you, I think there were some things that we're missing that we should definitely be, the things that are close to our heart. And I don't mean this. I'm not being flip about this. I'm being serious. There is no National Fantasy or Rotisserie Baseball Day, something that we both are very passionate about. There is on June 2nd Rotisserie Chicken Day, just to be clear, but there is not a Fantasy or Rotisserie Baseball Day.
Or a football,
there is no fantasy
football day,
huh?
Or a fantasy
football day,
or any fantasy sports day, right?
Right. But maybe, fantasy sports is something that's been around for quite some time now. And there's literally millions of people doing this. This is not like some little niche anymore. This is big. This is a big deal. I mean, there's literally millions of people playing on ESPN or Yahoo or CBS or even, NFL and MLB.com both have fantasy games. So the leagues are actually getting involved in it. None of those. There's, I think it's big enough that there should be like a National Fantasy Sports Month. One of the other things, I mean, we're just joining the ranks, but there's no National Podcasters Day. So my suggestion is that we try to get one of these days made into reality. And I think we'll start maybe with the National Fantasy Baseball Day and see what we can do. So we are going to, in the next day or two, fill out that application and send it in. And
is this our cause? Is this what's going to define us?
It is.
This is what we can tell our future generations about. We were there when they made whatever day, National Fantasy Rotisserie Baseball Day. We were a part of that.
Correct. If you're selected, if they approve your day, you get a press release. They publicize it because this is stuff that, lots of media outlets actually subscribe to their website to get those national days. And we also get a proclamation, a poster-sized proclamation that is framed that we can take with us to, show that, we got National Fantasy Baseball Day approved.
We would have that going for us, which would be nice.
Which would be nice, and we'd have to fight over it. Maybe it summers in New Jersey and it spends the winters in Louisiana.
Down south. Yeah, that would work. So that'll be our cause. That's our thing. So I'm just thinking in the grand scheme of things. I had an uncle who fought at Normandy, and I'll be able to say I had a half a hand maybe in making a National Fantasy Baseball Day.
Yes,
that's kind of comparable.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
That's something to stick. That's something to stick on my tombstone when I'm gone. Right?
It'll go in your obituary. Yeah. At this point, I'm starting to build my my resume for my obituary.
That's incredibly depressing.
You start looking back and seeing what did I ever accomplish? What did I do? What did I stand for? What big thing did I go and do for the greater good? And this is our Waterloo. I'm putting my flag down. So we will.
This is the moment.
Yeah, we will keep you up to date on how that whole thing goes. I have no idea what the time frame of that is. I know that if you do get approved, the one thing they did say was they apparently print calendars that you can buy, and you have to have your stuff approved so far in advance of the calendar. So even if we got approved like in the next couple months, we wouldn't even make the 2020 calendar. It'd be the 2021 calendar, but that's fine.
Well, my guess is that anyone in charge of approving these days, that it's a very, very time-consuming, lengthy, exhaustive process. Because, when you have days like National Joy Germ Day, that just didn't come around haphazardly or too easily. That a lot had to go into approving a day like that. So I am committed to the long-term cause on getting one of our days approved. And who knows? Why stop with one day? If we can get one done,
absolutely,
we can keep coming up with all kinds of different days. There's plenty of days on the calendar. They can some of these other ones can share, right? We can put some commas behind some of these other days and add some other stuff to it, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
Apparently, they have a selection committee, just so that you are aware. And it does say on their website, due to a substantial backlog, we are only accepting applications from companies and organizations at this time. So we'll have to make up some business or organization name to apply with, because
if they're that busy, they're never going to be able to research if that's an actual organization. See, it's just like the Super Bowl rings on eBay. I'm telling you, you can get away with anything. You just got to claim it. That's the way it goes, right?
That's how it works.
America. That's how it works.
America.
There you go.
All right.
I think that's a good spot as any to call it. What do you think, Stephen?
I agree. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. And if you like what you heard, please tune in again. Recommend us to a friend. I did notice the other day that we got our first subscriber. So I'd like to thank that one person.
Do you have a sound effect for that?
I don't know if I actually do have a sound effect.
Or do we? I mean, I just have depressing sound.
I
effects.
have a sound effect for having no subscribers.
This can be now personalized. It feels like it's a personalized podcast. So definitely thank you to anyone who's subscribed so far. These are literally specifically for you.
I think his name is
possibly.
Joe. Yes.
The shout out.
Yes. This goes out to Joe. Thanks, Joe. We appreciate you subscribing, because years from now he can say, when we're big and famous, he can say, I was there first.
He can say that. He could claim it. No one would be able to prove him otherwise. That, I think, at the end of the day, that's the message I'll take out of today's podcast.
Beautiful. Well, again, thank you for listening. Again, recommend us to a friend. You can find us on Twitter at Excruciating Podcast. And we also now have a website. It's excruciatingpodcast.com. You can find us there. We're getting ourselves on everything: iTunes, Google Play,
YouTube.
We're everywhere. So if you go to our website, you can find links to all of our different places that we host the podcast, and go ahead and subscribe somewhere and stay listening. We appreciate it. So Randy, have a good one. We'll talk to you next time.
All right. You as well, Stephen. Absolutely. Thank you for listening.